Hello, everyone. I'm Swapna Gajella from Austin, Texas. I'm honored to be one of your hosts for today Meditation Musings, brought to you by Meditation Magic, Beam, and Breath Universe platforms. We've been bathing in a sea of wisdom from our esteemed speakers, and I must express my heartfelt gratitude to the earlier hosts for their seamless navigation through this journey. So, we are going to start our next meditation session. And before we start our meditation, I would like to share a little bit about my spiritual journey. So I was introduced to meditation in the year 2017 and I started practicing it regularly from 2018. A regular practice was happening through group meditations. And how meditation helped me, it helped me in many aspects of my life and the way I perceive things. So those spirituality seeds were sown right from my childhood by my parents. I feel Anapanasati meditation watered them, and that's when my true inner journey started. I'm always grateful to our beloved Guru Brahmarshi Pitamaha Patriji. I became more calmer and I'm also able to handle my emotions better. My overall health improved and I feel more connected with nature and everything around me. So I'm able to live in gratitude for all the things that I have. And I also understood the importance of concepts like forgiveness and importance of being in silence. So we are always engrossed in our thoughts, either living in the past or future, and this takes us away from all the experiences in the present moment. And meditation is all about being in the present moment. So, seeing all these benefits, I got motivated to take this practice to whomever I knew. I started reaching out to friends and family and teach them this simple technique, and also hosted many meditation sessions and spiritual talk shows with many masters from whom I've learned a lot. So, listening to experiences of masters immensely helped me in my spiritual journey too. Thank you all for listening, and now let us get into meditation. Gently close your eyes, clasp your fingers, cross your feet, and just observe your breath. We are going to meditate for a few minutes before we invite our next master, Dina Mariam Madam. Just be with your breath. If you're distracted by any thoughts or anything, just simply notice them and bring your attention back to your breath. Let's use all these beautiful group energies to go deeper within. Now, as we continue to voyage through enlightening wisdom sessions, it's my privilege to introduce our next spiritual guide, the esteemed Dina Merriam Madam. We are incredibly fortunate to have her share her knowledge and insights today. A few words about Dina Madam. Dina Merriam is a long-time meditation practitioner in the lineage of Kriya Yoga. She came in contact with her guru Paramahamsa Yogananda at the age of 20, long after he had left his physical form. She devoted many years to practicing his teachings and studying the texts of ancient Vedic tradition. During her years of meditation, many vivid memories of past births began to emerge, and these memories became the subject of her books Journey Through Time, Untold Story of Sita, When the Bright Moon Rises, Seeds of Satyuga, and her recent books Rukmini and the Turning of Time, and her latest book To Dance with Darkness. While on her own spiritual journey of awakening, Dina Mariam has been active in public sphere. She served as Vice Chair, Millennium World Peace Summit of Religious and Spiritual Leaders, held at United Nations in New York in the year 2000. Having founded the nonprofit organization, the Global Peace Initiative of Women in 2002, she has worked to bring spiritual voices to address global challenges. She has spoken in many forums on the need for shift in consciousness if we are to successfully address ecological decline, economic and gender imbalances, climate instability, violence, and other critical issues. She has received her master's degree from Columbia University, has served on numerous boards, and in 2014 received the Nivano Peace Prize for her international work. Hearty welcome, Dina Mariam, Madam. We are blessed to have you with us today, and the stage is all yours.
Namaste, and many thanks for everyone who organized this wonderful event and for inviting me. As you know, I'm a writer and a storyteller, so I thought I would read a little bit from a new book that I'm working on, and please feel free to close your eyes and meditate while I'm reading. I'll just give a little prelude. I was in India in February speaking about the untold story of Sita, which I know many of you have read. And after I finished that book, I had no thought to write another book on Sita. That was my book, my offering, The Untold Story of Sita. But as the trip ended, I got a very strong feeling that I was meant to write a follow-up book called The Yoga of Sita. I came back, I questioned myself, I had confirmation, and I began working on it. So it's in the early stages, but I want to read one of the early chapters. And this story is told to me from a village woman who lived during Sita's time near the forest where Sita retreated to raise her children. And this village woman who helps the villagers with medicinal plants, with healing, is on a spiritual search. And Sita begins to come to her internally, first through a guiding voice, and then in visions and dreams, and guides her spiritual direction. One day she's in the forest, and she thinks that the voice guiding her is a Devi. One day she's in the forest gathering herbs, and she sees a woman who's just like the woman who's appeared to her in visions. So she follows her as Sita leaves the forest and goes to the village, to her cottage. And this woman thinks, she's not a Devi. She's actually a great rishi who's been guiding me internally. So Sita gives her further direction. She has no idea who she is, that she's the Maharani. She's just a great, great soul. Sita gives her further direction, and she returns to her village and is tremendously uplifted and progresses greatly spiritually through having made this contact with Sita. So I'll begin now this chapter, which is called Identities. It's still in draft form. She doesn't have a name for Sita, so she simply calls her Mata. The guiding principle of my life was now, how would Mata be? What would Mata say or do in this situation? I continued to dwell on her words for weeks and months, and they began to take effect on my life in many small ways. Externally, my life didn't change at all. I still responded to all who came for medicine to help the maintain their well-being. This was my service to the community. At home, I performed all my duties with the children and other household matters. But internally, everything changed. I was with Mata. No longer just an internal voice. She was now more real to me. The sense of absence that I'd begun to feel dissipated, swept away by a constant presence. About a year after my meeting with Mata, I was in the forest gathering plants when I came across two middle-aged men who seemed lost, who were debating how to find their way out of the forest. Approaching them, I asked if I could help, explaining that I knew the area well. They told me that they had come from a town quite some distance and were on the way to find the Maharani with a petition. The Maharani? I asked in surprise. Why would you be seeking her here, in these parts? One of the men responded, We are told that her cottage is on the other side of this forest, but which side we don't know, and the path seems to lead us in circles. Some years earlier, rumors had spread that the Maharani had left the palace for a life of retreat, but nobody quite knew why or where she had gone. Some said it was to give her children the freedom to roam about, as she had when she was a child in Mithila. Others suspected her captivity had harmed her health and caused her to withdraw from the demands of palace life. And yet others said that she hadn't left the palace at all. She just wasn't seen very much. Why are you seeking the Maharani? I suddenly asked, thinking it strange that two townsmen would attempt to meet her. One of the men smiled and replied, Ayodhya is far, and we know that the best way to reach the Maharaja is through the Maharani. Whatever comes to her somehow reaches him. Our petition is about a serious matter regarding a forest near our town, and she's known to care deeply about forest life. Well, I can't imagine that you will find her anywhere near here. I haven't heard a word of where she might be living. The men thanked me and, determined to continue the search, began to walk away, when the thought hit me that Mata could help them. Wait, I called out. I know someone who can help you find her. She's a great, great Rishika. Perhaps the most, well, I don't know how to describe her, but she lives not far from here. If anyone can help you find the Maharani, it is her. They were pleased, and one of the men sighed in relief, saying, Then do lead us to her. Nobody's been able to help us thus far, and we must reach the Maharani. For a moment I hesitated, wondering if I should lead them to Mata, not quite sure if I was doing right by her, as she seemed to prefer a secluded life. But they appeared to be desperate to reach the Maharani, and who else could help them? Mata surely would not mind. So I directed them down the right path and even led them part way. When it was time for me to turn around, one of the men asked, Don't you want to meet the Rishika yourself? You seem to have great reverence for her. Shaking my head, I replied softly, I will wait until I am called. I returned home that day without giving the matter another thought. Mata was so kind that I didn't think she would mind at all, helping these two men find the Maharani. A year passed, and I was called to a town quite a distance away to bring medicines to help the birthing process for the women there. I loaded a cart with the right plants, and my husband accompanied me as we left for the town. After delivering the plants and counseling two of the women in the town on how to prepare the medicine, my husband and I planned to return to our village. Before leaving, I went to the market to see what was being exchanged. To my surprise, there were so many items that I had never seen before. I picked up a few, thinking to trade for them, but then put them down, realizing there was nothing that we needed. They will just be another distraction, I said to myself. I was standing at one of the stalls when a man approached and greeted me. Aren't you the woman we met in the forest who led us to the Maharani? He asked in a warm tone. Turning around, I recognized him right away. Greeting him in return, I asked, Did you find her then? Did the great Rishika help you? We never found the Rishika you spoke of, but we found the Maharani thanks to you, he replied. We followed the directions you gave us and came upon a clearing with two small cottages. A woman was standing at the gate who knew exactly why we had come, but she said the Maharani was in need of rest. She was about to turn us away when we heard a voice from inside the cottage. Soma, let them come. After all, I've called for them. She then emerged in the doorway, the Maharani herself. I had seen her once in Ayodhya and knew for sure it was her. Thanking us for taking the journey to meet her, she sat with us for quite a while, asking many details about the forest matter. Then she said she would bring the issue to the Maharaja's attention, and it would be addressed. She insisted on feeding us before we left, and then asked the woman called Soma to help guide us back to our town. So, thanks to the directions you gave us, we were able to complete our mission, and the forest matter has been resolved. I didn't respond, as I wondered if the man was speaking the truth. It sounded to me that it was Mata they met, not the Maharani. I was perplexed and asked, Are you sure it was the Maharani who met you? He chuckled as he said, How could I mistake her? My brothers and I traveled to Ayodhya for the coronation celebration, as so many people did from throughout the land, from the many villages and towns. There we saw the Maharaja and Maharani. Even though there were throngs of people and we stood at a great distance, we could see them clearly. It didn't matter how close you were. Everyone seemed to have the same experience, a close-up view and a personal interaction. He laughed. I will never forget that day because as we stood there, I was sure that they were looking directly at me. Later, each of my brothers told me that the Maharaja and Maharani had looked directly at them and smiled. Other townspeople said the same thing. It seems that everyone had a very personal experience. Ever since then, I have felt a bond with both. So I was not intimidated in the least by meeting her this time. She made me and my brother feel so at ease. It was like greeting an old friend. After we spoke to her about the issue for which we had come, she said, You were there at the coronation celebration, and I knew then you would take special care of the forests. That is why I've drawn you here. The matter will be addressed. Think of it, among the throngs of people who came to Ayodhya then, she remembered me, even though I stood at a great distance. How astonishing. When I repeated the Maharani's words, a great sense of upliftment came over me, as well as the feeling of Mata's presence. Would it be, I wondered? No, impossible. Chastised myself, instructing my mind not to wander into useless avenues of thought. What did it matter? I asked myself. To me, she's Mata, and it doesn't matter who she might be to anyone else. My husband spoke sparingly on the journey home as he was tired from the travel, something we rarely did, and I was happy for the time to reflect. Along the route to the village, a disquietude came over me. When we finally arrived, I made my way to my meditation corner and sat there for quite a while, until I heard a voice asking, "Why be surprised? Don't we all hold many identities? I knew you long before I was the Maharani, and will know you long after. Don't be sidetracked by disguises." Her words made me wonder if Mata had not disguised herself as the Maharani to help the men. But if that was so, how could she have gotten the message to the Maharaja and the men said the problem had been solved? I concluded that my limited mind could not resolve my question, so I did my best to put the matter aside. I trusted Mata completely and knew that whatever she did was for the best. 2 years passed, and I had gone to the forest to visit my favorite elder tree, whom I had not visited in quite some time. Lowering myself to the ground, I leaned my back against the trunk, remembering all my early attempts at meditation. "You were my witness and my support then," I said fondly to the tree. Its branches seemed to sway in response, and laughingly I said, "I know you understand me, and I understand you." Then after a pause, I whispered, "I get the feeling that this may be our goodbye." Don't know why I spoke those words. They just slipped from my mouth. Perhaps it was because the tree was old, and I knew that months might pass before I would have a chance to visit again. I drifted into meditation and felt Mata's presence very strongly. Her love flowed to me in mounting waves, carrying me into a most joyful serenity. Quite some time passed, and when I opened my eyes, I found Soma seated beside me in meditation. When she heard me stir, she also opened her eyes. I tried to rise to offer pranam, but she put her hand on my arm and indicated that I should stay seated. "Mata is not with you?" I asked, surprised to see her there alone. She shook her head. "She sent me to you. She's prepared food for your family." She indicated a basket on the ground beside her. Mata had never sent food before, and I wondered why now. In response, Soma said, "One of the children in your family will soon fall ill. Feed this to her and the others. It will protect them." After a pause, she added, "Mata also instructed me to answer your questions." "What questions might you have, my dear?" By the slight smile on her face, I was aware that she knew my questions. I was silent for a few moments, then asked in a slightly trembling voice, "Who really is Mata? Who do you think she is?" I didn't answer, so she answered for me. "As you see her, that is who she is. To each one, she will be different." "I don't understand," I murmured. "In truth, your question cannot be answered. If you want to know her different identities, her many appearances, I can tell you that. But they are not who she truly is." "Is she then really the Maharani, the wife of Sri Ram?" "That is one of her identities. She's also the mother of Love and Kush, the daughter of Janak Baba, the Rajkumari of Mithila. She is the protector of the forest, the plant and animal life, the people and beyond, all that lives. What more do you want to know?" Didn't respond, and she continued, "When you look at the night sky and see the multitude of stars numbering beyond any count, you are viewing just the barest part of what lies out there, and all of that vastness is just the hem of her skirt. In truth, this whole visible universe is her garment. The universe is beyond this visible one, grander and more magnificent. are the jewels that encircle her. She is the essence of all, coming into the world of appearances on rare occasion for specific purpose. While she is here, she is also there, as are you and I. Don't think this form of yours is who you truly are. It is just one of your appearances. While you are here, I also see you there in the celestial world. That is the truer you. You exist in many places simultaneously, my dear, just as Mata does. Only you have closed off your awareness, as most people have. If Mata is the Maharani, then why is she living a simple life in the cottage near the forest? I asked. Soma laughed. Who ever said Mata's life is simple? Her life is more complex than anyone can comprehend, as she is in so many places at once, guiding beings on more than just this planet without ever moving. But that is not difficult, since she is a manifestation of the universal mind, at one with everything, which is hard for most people to fathom. It is not necessary to know who Mata is, but you will know in time. It is enough to receive her love, to give that love to everyone and everything. That is all she asks, nothing more. If Mata is what you described, then who is the Maharaja? Ah, who is Ram? She let out a great sigh, and then her eyes lit up, a question to which there is also no answer. But I will attempt to describe them, for I cannot speak of one without speaking of the other. You might say that they are like two suns circling each other, an inseparable pair, shining together in equal measure. As part of their plan, at times she becomes like the moon reflecting his light, and at other times he is the moon reflecting her light. To watch them play and dance together through the cosmic ethers is the ultimate joy. They embrace in the fullness of unity and then allow the appearance of separation to come over them for the perpetuation of the manifest worlds. But he is the Maharaja of this land, I whispered almost inaudibly. That he is, but that is not who he is, she chuckled. Which Ram do you want to know? Which Sita? All, I murmured. Sita, the mother, is tender yet firm, giving her sons room to explore and roam, yet ever watchful over their well-being. All her efforts are to awaken in them love and a sense of care and responsibility for all that lives. Sita, the wife, is attentive to the smallest details of her husband's life, supporting him and counseling him in all he does, yet never for a moment does she surrender her dignity or place as his full partner in life. To do so would demean him. Sita, the friend, cares for every aspect of her life, aware of every detail, helping us to progress on our spiritual journey, watching over our spiritual progress. Sita, the Maharani, is the guardian of the people in this land and all life that exists within it. In the people, she seeks to awaken a higher purpose. In the animal and plant worlds, she protects and guides them upward in their awakening journey. A cosmic form I cannot describe. There are no words for it, but that form of hers can be experienced when one has fully awakened to her being within oneself. Now I will describe him. Ram, the father, seeks to awaken in his children curiosity about life and the courage to meet any challenge. He is patient, yet continually urges them to aspire. Ram, the husband, is adoring, filling himself with Sita's love and returning the same. No aspect of her well-being escapes him, as she is never out of his thoughts. Ram, the Maharaja, is attentive to the needs of every person in the kingdom, making every decision based on the well-being of the whole, never placing one group or individual above the others. He's the model of a dharmic life, as is she. And together they set an ideal of what a true partnership can be, a friendship and love of the highest order. You may see them as two people, as two solar bodies, or as two cosmic beings, it doesn't matter. The essence of their being is love, because love is the foundation of all that is. It is love that brought this universe into existence. It is love that maintains it and will withdraw all that is into the cosmic self when the play is done. It was love that drove Ram and Sita into the forest for so many years, enduring physical hardships for the sake of helping the forest communities evolve. It was love that sent them into Lanka to free their devotee imprisoned in delusion, and to free his followers who'd been captivated by his illusionary powers. And it was love that sent Sita into the forest for what you call a simple life. Love for Rishi Brigu, who long ago unknowingly cursed Narayan to know the pain of separation from his wife. Soma stopped speaking and closed her eyes. She remained that way for some time. When she opened her eyes, I asked quietly, "So that is the cause of the separation?" Soma nodded. "It is not publicly known because that would cast a cloud over that esteemed great soul, and neither Ram nor Sita would allow this. Narayan took on that curse to free Rishu Brigu of his anger, but he can't be fully free until the curse has been fulfilled. I once heard Sita say that the Rishi performed a great service, because having to fulfill the curse made her realize that the era of cursing must end. Ram will now establish a system of justice independent of the sages that is needed for society to advance, because sages also have their predilections, their emotional responses, which can weaken their clarity of sight. Words are not enough to describe who they are. One must experience the reality." Soma closed her eyes and drifted into meditation. I did the same, and within minutes felt myself merging with Soma's consciousness, experiencing what she was describing as I heard her words internally. I will share with you a very personal story of how I came to know them. I have been with Mata since her childhood, but it was not until after her marriage that I came to know truly who she is. It was as if through their union, the reality of who they are became more apparent. We had just come to Ayodhya, where we were getting adjusted to a new life. Since the marriage, I had not had the opportunity to spend much time with Sita for personal conversation. There were so many people around and many demands on her. When I first set eyes on Ram in Mithila before the marriage, I saw him in a blaze of light, and I could not help but wonder who this wondrous being was. Yet I never voiced this question. But after we came to Ayodhya, the question continued to haunt me. In the day, I saw him as the Raj Kumar, interacting with his family, an attentive husband to Mata. But at night, when I closed my eyes, I would see him as I first did, in a blaze of light. After we had been in Ayodhya for several weeks, I had the opportunity to be alone with Mata. The other servants had retired for the night, and Ram had not yet come to call for her. I had just finished helping her change from her formal wear. I'd taken all the jewelry and put them away, was about to take my leave when she asked me to stay. She sat down on some cushions on the floor, and I seated myself in front of her, looking into her eyes, wondering why she had asked me to remain. Then the question again arose. Who is Ram? Her response was internal. I heard a voice from within. He is the undivided self, the self in all. Beyond time and space, he yet resides in time and space, as there is no place where he is not. His name is the cosmic vibration that brings everything into being. It is inscribed in every element, and just by reciting that sacred name, one can awaken the consciousness that resides in all, in every speck of dust. Yet truly, he has no name, no form, but you can find him in all forms and names, as there is nowhere that he is not. Without him, I am nowhere to be found. With him, I am found everywhere. But one cannot know Ram through words alone. One must experience him, become one with that, awakening that one within your own being. That is how to know Ram. Don't look outside, Soma. Find him as the very essence of yourself. As she spoke internally those words, I was lifted into a supernal reality. All thoughts evaporated as I sank into a deep ocean of bliss, losing all consciousness of the outer world, aware of only that, of Ram, 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 the great cosmic self which is reflected in all that is. Within that self, I saw all universes floating, turning, changing, evolving. I saw past, present, and future contained within, the beginning of the worlds infinite in number, and their endings, and their new beginnings, the ending, endless rounds of evolving life. And I was part of that evolving life, not separate, but one with it. It was extraordinary, more wondrous than the mind can imagine. I would have remained in that state forever, but could not, for I was called back to the outer world. When I opened my eyes, it was not Sita who sat before me, but Ram, and I could not suppress the question that arose internally. If that is Ram, then who is Sita? And again the eternal voice responded, but it was the voice of Ram, not Sita. There is no Ram without Sita, for she enables me to come into being, to express myself through the multitudes of universes, through ever-changing forms of life. She is the love that creates and maintains all that is, the dynamism, the magnetic energy that flows through all. Without her, I'm nowhere to be found. With her, I'm everywhere and everything. Seek her, and you will find me. Seek me, and you will find her. We are inseparable, the undivided one. Yet there's nowhere to seek, because we are in all that is. Look within, and you will find us residing there, waiting to be awakened. His words again sent me into a supernal reality, once more sinking into the unending ocean of joy. I found myself by Sita's side, passing through corridors of space and the spaceless realms. Beyond the flutterings of thought and self-awareness, I was she, and she was me. There was no distinction. I came back into waking awareness at the first rays of dawn and found myself alone. I sat there for hours until I heard the door open and saw Mata enter, dressed in her royal clothing. I had no words and could not move. She approached, and our eyes met in a knowing embrace. With a smile, she extended her hands to help me rise to a standing position. Come, Soma, she said lovingly. We must get ready for the day ahead. And the story continues, but I will leave it at that for now.
Beautiful, ma'am.
The message is that Sita is giving us through Soma, because Soma's voice, she's a vehicle for Sita, is to look within. That's where she resides. She resides within. And we exist in multiple places. We can exist in the most exalted realms, and yet in this earthly realm where we have to perform day-to-day details of life, and we should be aware of ourselves in all these places, both as in the exalted realm and in the dailiness of life. And so that is what I want to offer to this wonderful meditation retreat that you are all experiencing. So thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Didn't feel like, stopping. Just wanted to listen to you for a longer time. And we are very curious about this new book, The Yoga of Sita. And it's not the identity that we need to focus on, but we need to connect to the energy. And how we are going to connect is by being more and more in awareness. So, and Untold Story of Sita has really me. I mean, when I read that book, I got connected so much with the book and the energy that I started looking at nature very differently. I mean, yes, I was connected earlier, but the way Sita Mata was, all those qualities that she of her that you have brought to us through that book immensely inspired us, and it changed the way like we look at Sita Ma. And yes, yet we are waiting for this book too. Thank you so much, ma'am. Are you willing to take a few questions?
You take a few questions, yes.
Friends, if anyone would like to ask any question, please feel free to message in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you. Yes, Harita.
Namaste, Dina Mariam, Madam. Namaste. I am Harita from Dallas. I was, while you were telling the story of Sita Mata, I was imagining myself and in the forest, and if the small goat or like everything I am imagining what you said. So that was so amazing and a good feeling. And means the Ram and Sita are in one consciousness, and what you told. So I am imagining everything, and that was very nice. And they are everywhere with consciousness and awareness. Thank you so much. Thank you. I feel great.
My hope is that the books will carry people into that realm, because this exists in another realm. You know, we're a multidimensional universe, and in another realm, Sita is giving these teachings, and they're coming down into our world. And so my hope is that it opens the portal to that other realm, so you can travel there. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Harita. Friends, anyone else would like to ask a question? Or you can post your questions in the chat too. Please raise your hand and I can unmute you. Okay, someone's asking, is that one of your past life, madam?
What's that?
Is that one of your past lives?
Well, in my book, The Untold Story of Sita, I speak through the voice of the servant Meenakshi, which I do identify very much. So I leave that to the reader to decide. I do see myself as having lived that life of that servant. In this current book, this story is being told through a village woman. It's not my story. This village woman who lived at that time is from another realm telling me this story of her experience with Sita. So, you know, I don't put too much stake on who we were. You know, as you mentioned in your introduction, I remember many of my past births, but that's not, in a way, I'm all of those past personalities and none of them. In some years ahead, I won't identify with this personality. You know, it's like we play many, many roles, you know, like an actor in a play. You play a role in one play, and then you move on to another role. And so we should see all of our roles like that. We maintain the memories hidden within us of all of that. Nothing is lost. And so that's part of our journey. And so what I remember most are the teachings that have come to me from that time. So when I recount the story of Meenakshi, and this is one of the reasons I'm writing this book now, Meenakshi was not a very awakened soul. She had a lot of love for Mata, and that's what kept drawing her to Mata. But she didn't understand the bigger picture. She wasn't at that stage in her evolution. And I have seen myself, as I've written through many of my books, that I received teachings which I didn't understand at that time, that now that I'm recounting them, I understand them much better. And so I'm able to hear again teachings that now at this stage of my journey, I get. But in that life, I was not yet able to understand what was being given to me. So I think that's one of the reasons that I'm able to recall these memories and to share them with people, because now I understand the many great teachings that were given in the past. Someone had asked in the chat room the name of the book. It's called The Yoga of Sita. And the subtitle will be something like Teachings for Today. So I hope to have it ready by early next year, but one never knows. You know, it's coming through very the portal is open. So I'm able to really fully work on this book.
Thank you, ma'am. Pratap, please feel free to unmute. Can someone unmute Pratap? I'm trying from here. Okay, before that, ma'am, we have another question. So Sudhaji says, thank you so much for this beautiful message. You have been a great guiding person in my life. You always mention in all your books about unconditional love. How can we break our patterns and bring that love into being?
I think that's the struggle that all of us are engaged in, is how can we bring that love into being? And for everybody, I mean, if you reflect on your life, everybody has, I imagine, some relationship which is difficult, whether it's with a relative, with a friend, with a coworker. That's given to us for a purpose, as a teaching, for help us to expand our love and to work through that relationship and to get rid of any resistance or frustration or anger or resentment or whatever we're holding around that relationship. That's our exercise. That's our work. And so I think the way we can expand our love, I mean, there are several ways in terms of working through difficult relationships and trying not to be in a judging state of mind, not to be judging about anything. That's something that I have worked on a lot in this life, is to move beyond the judgment and not to judge anything. And then the other way to open your heart is really to spend time in nature consciously. We unconsciously move through nature. We walk from one place to another, but to do it more consciously, to more consciously connect with the tree, to more consciously connect with the animals around us, and to be in a more conscious relationship. So I think with the natural world, it's a matter of being in a more conscious relationship where you're connecting through the heart, because that's what life responds to, not thoughts so much. Well, they do respond to thoughts, but it's the heart energy that the life around us responds to. And then looking at a relationship that's difficult, or things that we judge, and trying to get into the heart space. I think that's the challenge for all of us.
Thank you, ma'am. Friends, any other questions? Sai Vinilaji. Yes.
Hello, Dina Mariam. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. I have a question regarding the spiritual parenting. Sita and Rama are very spiritual parents. They both raised Lava and Kusha. So, can you give any tips in this generation how to do spiritual parenting?
How to do spiritual parenting? Well, I raised two sons myself, and I think there are a few things that I practice. One is I tried to introduce my sons to meditation early on. Neither of them meditate today, but I know that it's in there somewhere, because I did introduce them to spiritual stories, and I never forced it, but they saw me meditating every day. And one of my sons asked me recently, how much do you meditate? You still meditating? And I said, of course, it's part of daily life. And so even if they don't take it up themselves, they see you as an example. And so I think I speak with a lot of young people, and I say, the best advice I can give you is develop a meditation practice when you're young. I did when I was 20, and I'm so grateful, because it became so ingrained in me that it's not something that, oh, do I want to meditate today or not? It's something that I do every day. And so that's the greatest gift we can give to young people, but it can't be forced. All you can do is counsel and advise. The other thing I do with I did with my sons is really try to be a friend with them and try to be with them where they're at, what their interests are, try to connect with them through their interests, even if you're not interested in that thing, but just so that you develop that friendship with them, even though you have to be a parent and you have to be somewhat of a disciplinarian. Having that friendship, today my sons are grown, they have families of their own, and I still have that friendship with them. I never force my opinion on them, but I give my advice when they ask it. And I think that that's something one has to really be conscious of, is developing that friendship with your children, because anything that's forced, young people are going to push away, reject. You know, my children grew up as vegetarians. They're not vegetarians today, but they see their mother has been a vegetarian, and they know that, you know, when I go to their house, they have to cook vegetarian for me. So they see that, and I know. I'll share with you. I'll share with you an experience that I had, very personal, but it's an experience. I struggled a little bit with the fact that my kids did not follow my path, but I never expressed that to them, but I struggled with it internally. Could I have done more? But I know that if you push something, they'll push it away. Recently, I had a dream, and I was worried about my younger son. I don't know why, I just had a certain anxiety about him. And in the dream, I was with an older man and my son came in, and the older man said, his name is Jesse, my son said, "Jesse, you got a phone call." And Jesse said, "Oh, who was it? Who was it from?" And the man said, "Yogananda." And my son said, "Oh, but he passed away. He died." And I turned to my son and I said, "He's not the only one who came back, can come back." And I woke up and I realized Yogananda had called my son. And I knew it's not in this life, but maybe in the next life. And all my worries about this child have disappeared now. It's like he's in my guru's hands. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, I'll still continue to be a friend there and advise whenever I can, to be helpful as a parent. You want to be there as like a strong support for your children, but know that your prayers for them, and that's all we can do, is pray for our children, to put them in the hands of whomever is your guide. Then they're you have to look beyond one life. I know that my kids, having come to me, it could be next life or the life after or the life after, but at some point, what I've given them will blossom. The seeds that I've planted will blossom. And so I may have shared a very personal experience, but it was a powerful one. I awoke, it was a clear message from my guru that he had now taken. And this son of mine, when he was younger, he was very drawn to Jesus when he was younger. We were not, come from a secular Jewish family, so Jesus was never anywhere in my world. But I knew that he had been Christian in his past life, and he was very drawn to Jesus as a child. And he had a dream one night of Jesus and Yogananda sitting together, and so I knew that Yogananda had taken the soul, had been aware of him. And I knew that he was sort of in a transition phase from his past life into the future. And so if we could see our children's journey, past and future, then we wouldn't worry. So we have to think, well, what role can we play in that? It's showing them love, it's being patient and understanding, and yet showing them good behavior, being a model for them, and then praying for them and trusting. And that's what we can do. We're planting seeds for the future.
Profound wisdom and message, ma'am. This is going to be helpful for many parents. Thank you so much. We have Balaji. Please feel free to unmute.
Namaste, Dena Merriam. Wonderful story. You made us to walk through, all the lives, whatever she has gone through in your story. When I was listening to the story, I felt as though Rama and Sita were like Prakriti and Purusha. They were inseparable, like Shiva and Parvati. So that is why you could see the same consciousness, in one the other. In a lot of Hindu Puranas, also the same thing. We listen to like Vishnu, Lakshmi, and Vishnu, and they see in each other hearts the other one. So I think in our purpose also we need to merge like that. We had to merge with the Prakriti, consciousness, our consciousness with the nature consciousness. That's the message I got. Like when you say that when you go into the nature, we have to be very conscious. That's wonderful. And also the way you're explaining, and also first when I got into meditation close to 30 years ago through Yogananda autobiography of Yogi. That is how my journey started. Wonderful. Wonderful to listen to your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And you're absolutely right about feeling this oneness with nature. I mean, that was the consciousness of the Treta Yuga when Ram and Sita, when they took birth. But it was a consciousness that was weakening and disappearing. And now
Yes.
we have to awaken that consciousness within ourselves.
Yes. Wonderful.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Balaji. And now one last question. Sushma?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Dina Mariam. This is Sushma. I was the one call you to invite for this meditation musing. So thank you so much. I know you have personal things going on. In spite of those, you have come here. Thank you so much for that. And no matter what, how many times we listen to you, madam, we are learning something always. Great wisdom. And I have one small question. So regarding the your past lives, so sometimes I get dreams as well, or sometimes visions, not very often, not regularly, but I get confused. Are those real patterns coming from the past, or your subconscious is tricking you? How do we know that? How do we get that clarity, madam?
I think that if there's a spiritual message, if there's usually when you have a superconscious dream, there's a spiritual message that comes through. The subconscious dreams are just dreams that are kind of mixed together with no real message coming through. There's just a compilation of different things about your life. People do get glimpses into their past through dreams. If you found yourself dreaming of another place, for example, before I had concrete memories, I kept dreaming of this other house. I had a repeated dream. I talk about that in my first book, Journey Through Time. Kept dreaming of this house for years, dreaming of the same house, waking up feeling very sad about it. That was a house that I had lived in my past birth. But it's usually if there's a superconscious dream, then there's an important message, and you know it inside. You know that there was a teaching that came through. There was a message for you that came through. There was a darshan that came through. If there's a vision of a great soul, I mean that's of a different it's a different quality. It's a different quality of experience.
Thank you, Dina. I'll definitely remember and look for the spiritual messages. That is really helpful. That is grateful. Yeah, thank you so much, Dina madam. I think we can go for next question. There are any?
There are no more questions, and I'll say that I'm sure it's time to move on to the next speaker. And I'm always very happy to be with you and to share my experiences. I speak very openly about them, even though some of them are quite personal. I do share them openly because I think that we all have similar experiences. We're all under the guidance of the great ones. And okay, is there another question coming in?
Yes, it's from Sudha. Connecting to the same question of dreams, if there is any meaning for repeated dreams or floods are being stuck.
Dreams, yes, there is a meaning for that, and you have to figure it out. I mean, nobody can tell you what that meaning is, but if there's a repeated dream, then there's something then your subconscious, your inner self is trying to tell you something. but it could be, who knows? It could be something from the past. It could be, about a certain relationship, depending on what the repeated dream. Because my repeated dream was of a certain house, I knew that that house had significance for me. And it wasn't until all my memories began to come back that I understood what that repeated dream was. So, so there is significance if there's a dream that repeats itself.
Thank you.
If we listen, our higher self, or inner self, or more conscious self, it tries to give us messages all the time. It's a matter of listening. And, in this book, Sita is guiding this woman through an inner voice. I mean, we can receive. I often get my guidance from my gurus, through internally. I'm told things internally, and you have to sort of really distinguish between your ego, your self that wants to direct things, and I think that's one of the things that meditation does. It quiets the mind so that you can get in touch with that deeper voice, that deeper part of yourself. I mean, all of my experiences I attribute to a life of meditation. And that's what I say to young people. I mean, speaking from my vantage point, I can't stress enough how important a life of meditation is. Whenever you begin, just begin.
Thank you.
So I think that will be it for now. I look forward to being with you again at some point in the future. And I hope you have a very fruitful rest of your retreat. Take good care, everyone.
Thank you.
Take good care.
Thank you so much, madam. Once again, deepest gratitude for sharing your wisdom with us tonight. And, your insights have really enriched our souls. Thank you.